Alrighty, guys. We have Jen and the birds in the number one spot.
Jen and the birds in the number one spot. And KK, thank you already, girl. You're on top of it.
Our beloved sister, KK. Thank you so much. What would we do without you?
Uh-oh. We have residual noise. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we have Skydra Diana. Good to see you. Hail and well met, all you beautiful souls. Well, thank you. You too. And there's Ray. I'm going to start calling you Scooby. What's up, gang? Or no, that's Shaggy. That's Shaggy. Emperor Rex. Good to see you. Good to see you, Miss Jen and the birds. Miss First all the time. I love it. I love it seeing you guys in there. Hello, Vildon. Good to see you. Yes, I hope you liked it. I hope you liked it. You know, this is we've seen a lot in our energy work, and we're only going to show things that we've seen work. So, or we'll explain other things too. We'll, give a wide gamut, but the amount of people that we have worked on, I think we know what works. And Sin Havoc, good to see you. Are you feeling that pulse? Can you feel it, you guys? Can you feel it? Surviving life, good to see you. Good. I'm glad, surviving life. I'm glad you like the lives, because we come here with our hearts open, and we just want to help where we can. Musical board, hello. Miss Tracy Younger, hi. Hello from New Zealand. Wow. I mean, people from all over the world. How humbled. And Miss Regina, good to see you.
Musical Bard, good to see you as well. We love all you guys. Thank you so much for joining us and being here with us. It is absolutely a blessing. There is so much like news and things breaking to talk about. Gosh, it just so much to cover. It is crazy. A lot of people are feeling the energy. You're feeling the energy. There is big energy incoming. Let us start over here. So we have an X-class flare. It was an X 1.0. It erupted from geoeffective region 4455. It did produce an R3 strong radio blackout condition. And this was the third major flare from the same region today. Again, we want to thank everybody that's supporting us on Patreon, also YouTube with memberships. We couldn't do it without you guys, honestly. EvolutionaryEnergyArts.com is getting an update. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and add your email over here to get updates. There's actually going to be a parallel website that's coming out. That's going to be an expansion. So we're still going to have EvolutionaryEnergyArts.com, but we will be adding to it. And over here, this was a member video and a Patreon video. We do appreciate you guys, so we do exclusives on a weekly basis. This one was all about energy healing and the color that can just push parasites, pests, ghosts, and demons right out of the way. Absolutely. Can a color be that powerful? Yeah, absolutely. This again is a reality that's being brought into effect just because you are observing it. It's all about the user. Each one of us is having our own unique experience, and then we're also sharing this collective experience at the same time. So when you look at this, we see the sun has all of a sudden started to wake up. You have M-class, a little bit more intense M-class. And then, we have basically 2 X classes and one just a tiny little bit below another X class. As we see, we've had another C class just a few moments ago. It's building. We do have, we've got a chance at a decent size G3 geomagnetic storm coming in the next 24 to 48 hours. We also had the coronal hole facing us, so we're getting that solar wind impact. If you guys are sensitive, and you see the X107, you will probably feel these energies. We do. I mean, we definitely feel them. But what's curious is sometimes they make you tired, sometimes they make you wired.
Oh, it does, in our bodies being that electricity. I mean, we are part of the pulse. I saw KK in the house saying, she can feel the pulsing. And, that's really, really interesting. And with our human brain, as much electricity as it generates, I mean, it's only going to be activated by the sun. Our brain can definitely detect these waves in different ways, and you just never really know exactly how is your particular body going to how is your particular body going to react. And then we look at the heart. The heart is the absolute strongest in electromagnetic electricity, so we're going to feel it in places. We might purge. Some people, I have felt an opening of my heart chakra. That's how I've been feeling. And I've been having things come up in my life that I'm working through. A lot of just old stagnant issues that I just let sit there because I wasn't ready to deal with. They come to the surface, and they let me know when they're ready, and I don't really have any say in the matter, so I just deal with it. But a lot of processing going on with this sun sneeze. So very interesting. Curious about what all of you guys are going through, considering it is fast communication between us and the sun. And I know they say, oh, it's not going to hit the earth for X many hours or a day or whatever. No, I think light and sound, I think it hits us instantly. And it can, since there's really no time in the other dimensions, it can hit us before it even happens. So all very interesting stuff, interesting times, and I think we are so on the cusp of something huge.
We are. We have a Karma Doc sighting.
Oh,
Yay! Yeah, it feels like the roller coaster ride's about to take some wild turns. That's kind of what it feels like. Now the KP is low, but that will be changing. As you can see, noteworthy flare events. There's a lot. It's definitely picking up. It is absolutely picking up. And watching closely, two earthquakes here, right around Cascadia, again off the coast of northern California, southern Oregon, 5.7 and a 5.1, both listed as 10 kilometers depth. These definitely hit me as something to watch. We've seen bigger in this area, but at the same time, we also know there's a lot of energy that's built up in the Cascadian Fault and down in the San Andreas. We also have a little oddball quake over there in Winnsboro, South Carolina, a 1.9. But we see them every now and then over that way as well. Other than that, it's relatively calm. There's only a few that are, above 5.0. So nothing major at this moment quake-wise. But it feels like could be any moment.
Yeah. So Earth and Sun are definitely speaking. When I see this, I see it as communication. The Sun is doing its thing, and Earth is reacting to it, and they have a very, it's a delicate dance. It's a delicate dance. But how many times is there other technologies involved? How many times have other technologies shown themselves to be very, very destructive when Earth and Sun are just trying to do their thing and communicate? I think there's a lot of interference. The body, our electricity fields, our electric fields, they can be interrupted so easily, yet they're so powerful. So we live in a very mysterious world. It just makes you wonder, really, how does this world really work?
Yeah, how does it really work when you get down to it? Is there somebody up there manning the the opening to the dome. Just gonna kind of let's crank it open a little bit, guys.
Yeah, he's gonna get one of those, imagine those toys with the little thing on the back that you wind it up. Maybe there's somebody with one of those key things and they just turn the key thing and the dome kind of opens up. Maybe that's gonna happen someday.
Yeah, well, that reminds me, like I had shared with you, meeting Roddy Piper, and that was up at Sky Dome, and it was really cool because they would open it up, and then the Sky Dome would be wide open to the stars. That was such a cool thing. Is there some sort of equivalent here on planet Earth? I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out. So we have a severe tropical storm. Jangmi leaves 23 injured, 60,000 without power after landfall in Wakayama, Japan. This storm triggered the first level 5 special flood warning issued under Japan's new 5-level disaster alert system. So Japan has a new disaster alert system in effect. I wonder if it's going to be activated for Godzilla. Actually, I don't kid you with that. We're going to be looking at a Godzilla situation in a few moments. Tropical Storm Amanda forms as the first named storm of the 2026 Eastern Pacific hurricane season. So, yeah, this is interesting. It's always hit me as kind of odd that, we have hurricanes in the Atlantic. The Eastern Pacific gets hurricanes, but the Western gets cyclones, and they're cyclones in, Indian Ocean as well. Just why? I don't know why they do that. I do know that when you go below the equator, they spin in the opposite direction, which is kind of curious too. There's a lot of stuff we don't understand about this planet. That's really the bottom line.
Oh, there is. And Jen and the Birds says she had a telehealth appointment today with a doctor. And you told him about us, and he is into Qigong. He is very interested in what you do. Well, yeah, there are some very good doctors out there. There's some doctors that are in the system that are making a difference, and they are definitely out there. And our very own Karma Doc is one of them. So I'm glad to hear that, Jen, that you may have one for you too, because they are golden nuggets. They truly are golden nuggets, hard to find, and we need to support them, lift them up wherever we can, and just, tell them, welcome them in our own way to help us navigate this world, because we've deliberately been made sick. I mean, all the toxins, the emotional trauma, the chaos. I mean, it's herded us, so many people, into hospitals where the doctors have mostly been trained to just, do as they're told, right on a piece of paper. But there's many doctors are starting to really push back against that, and I'm very grateful. So good job, Jen. I hope he's a good one for you.
Yes, we love you and are sending positive energy your way. You're very special to us. And this is what I was talking about, the weather phenomenon that can shake the world. Godzilla, El Nino. They keep hyping this El Nino. There's things in store for us. When they're hyping something like this, every day it seems like they're ramping it up, making it out to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Strongest on record, widespread devastation. Oh no, it's Godzilla.
Yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing because I don't have the video right in front of me, but I was shown a video about a gentleman in Texas who had a large amount of land, and part of the reason he was selling it is because they had a list of when the droughts were going to come to Texas, and he wasn't going to be able to upkeep his ranch, upkeep his land. And so this was shown to me last summer sometime. Karma Doc sent it to me because she was actually talking to him. It was a fascinating kind of interview. And the old timers knew that we were already going to have a drought before any of this El Nino business comes in. So I don't know, anytime something looks popular, I question it. I question the snot out of it.
Yeah, so it says the world could be on the brink of a Godzilla-like El Nino extreme weather pattern. I mean, we've had so many El Ninos. They come, they go. La Nina. But this one feels different only because they're building it up so much. You know, and again, when they build something up, usually there's going to be a reason for it. And it might not be, the reason that they're talking about. It could be, again, we recognize there could be cover stories, again, plausible explanations for what might be part of a bigger script, so to speak. So El Nino is an oceanic heat wave that occurs 2 to 3 times each decade. It's building in the Pacific around the equator, expected to peak in September. United Nations World Meteorological Organization has warned the warm current will affect weather patterns, increase the risk of droughts in Australia and southern parts of Asia and Africa. It's going to increase the likelihood of violent storms and heavy rainfall in some parts of the Americas. This is a little map showing the typical impact of an El Nino. So, here you go. When you look at it, southern U.S., more winter rainfall can cause flooding. And if you can't see this, it's kind of going from the southern part of New Mexico, covering all of Texas, maybe some of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and possibly a little bit of Mississippi. It will affect each place differently. Australia and the Amazon, dry conditions that can fuel wildfires. India, summer monsoon can be suppressed because they usually do have a monsoon, which can get at times very out of control, but at the same time, without that, will you end up with drought? North Africa, drought can drive internal displacement. East Africa, above average rainfall causes flooding and river overflows in places like Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya. Southern Africa, harvests fail, causing acute hunger, driving displacement. Zambia, Zimbabwe, Angola, and Mozambique. Southeast Asia, Indonesia, drier conditions cause food insecurity. There's a lot of fires adding to that, and a lot of other things as well. South Asia, large spikes in displacements due to floods and storms. Central America, devastating crop losses, force internal displacement. The dry corridor of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. And South America, coastal flooding and storm damage road networks and housing, Andean foothills, Peru, and Ecuador. So it's, again, depends on where you are, what it's going to do. They are hyping this like there's no tomorrow.
I mean, they're hyping it like, it's the biggest thing since sliced bread, or like, somebody just invented a wheel, and it's so out there. And yeah, Sin Havoc, a cover story, I think there's definitely something behind it. And we're all kind of in a position where we're the wait and seers. We kind of have a rough idea of what they're going to do, and it's definitely no good. But what kind of no good are we going to have to tolerate this time?
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it. What kind of no good? As always, guys, I want to thank you for thumbings up, making sure that you are subscribed to all 3 channels, Evolutionary Energy Arts, EEARTS, and Heart's Ohm. Again, there's unique videos on each. And if you're able to, hype the videos that's supposed to help with the algorithms. I believe each one of us gets like 3 hypes a week. I think that's how it works. Trump administration pulls the plug on $368 million deep ocean climate watch system. NSF orders the removal of more than 900 deep-sea instruments off the U.S. coasts that tracked marine heat waves, coastal flooding, and the crucial AMOC. The AMOC is basically a current that, without that flowing, Western Europe would be so much colder. Canada and northern U.S. as well. would be very cold on the east side. Scientists call it a crippling loss of information. $368 million. So you cut this at a time when we're going into a Godzilla El Nino? That doesn't seem to make any sense, does it? I mean, look at all the natural disasters and stuff. Why would you kind of blind yourself at this point in time?
Pick me. I know.
Yes, you, in the front row.
Pick me. So, I don't know. Let's think back to another time when some things happened, and the first thing they did was they got rid of security. They got rid of anything and everything that could possibly see or sense or smell what was going on. And then, boom, something big hit, and oopsie, they didn't have any evidence of what had happened. Maybe it's something along those lines.
Well, this tells me that we are in for some major events. If they're removing something that could help us and also provide explanation after the fact of, what's exactly going on, suspicious minds, conspiratorially inclined.
We're just being cynical.
Yes, maybe a little bit cynical when it comes to government. But look at what we got. We got the Gil Bates guy funding a company that wants to cut down 70 million acres of trees and bury them underground. Why? To stop climate change, of course. It is. I mean, there's no logic. It's like they're giving us an IQ test, and they're also kind of testing our mettle. How far can they push, and how much will they perceive of what's really going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rotten, and the people. You know what makes me sad is they prey on people who might be poor. Some guy who's just about to lose his house. Well, he'll take the keys to a bulldozer and he'll start, bulldozing trees and moving trees because he wants to feed his family. And of course, we want to feed our families, but these are the kind of people that they get to do the jobs. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. You can't be judgmental because I'm sure we've all been in peculiar situations where we have to do things that we don't necessarily like or morally agree with. So what do we do with that? Really, what do we really do with that? Because we can stand here and stomp our feet and scream and yell and be quite angry, but that's not going to help either. That's not going to help either. But what if maybe there were some people at the local level of this area that could start a protest? Because I have seen quite a lot of pushback with the data centers, and we have made progress. So maybe that's what we need to look at.
Professor Angus Dalgleish is a British oncologist, professor of oncology at St. George's, University of London, best known for his seminal contributions to HIV/AIDS research, especially specifically the discovery of the CD4 receptor as the primary cellular entry point for HIV. He's done a lot of things here. He's very, very well known. He's authored over 500 publications. He's co-written books, including The Death of Science. And here you have him in a Senate hearing proving that the cure actually caused a lot of C's, a lot of the big C. And he saw it explode in his stable patients. He says, I have evidence on this. I've been in cancer and immunotherapy for 3 decades. And he talks about people relapsing after getting the cure. How are these two guys, how have they not been charged with crimes against humanity? It just boggles the mind.
Well, to me, all I have to do is switch the why. Well, what are they in charge of doing? They must be some kind of heads of state, because they are definitely in charge of making people as sick as possible. And everyone else who has money or power in any way, they're just going on down the line. And I think there's a lot out there who are pretending that they care. They get up and they talk about, the noble things they have done to fight against the system, but they're collecting a lot of money too. And that's a problem, in some ways, we may outnumber them, but it's not helping. Not yet.
Well, there is one there is one interesting story in the Sumerian tablets about when the Ijiji said it's enough, we've had enough doing this work. What did they do? Well, there so happened to be one of the very top Anunnaki on the planet at that time, right here on Earth. Enlil was in his palace or what have you, and they literally encircled it. And they refused to work anymore, and then Enlil was fearing for his life, so this is when he ended up agreeing to create humans to do the work instead of the Ijiji. Again, it took that. We have to recognize that, you've had really malicious beings pretending that they're benevolent, pretending that they really truly care about us, and they don't. Only the dollars that we could bring into their accounts. That's really all they care about. So, again, this is just, it's an IQ test in many ways, and it's also a test of humanity's resolve. How far can they be pushed before humanity comes to its breaking point?
How far, and if you look at your own life, in our own life, usually it's not until we are extremely uncomfortable that we finally break free. We break the chains that bind us. We have to get really uncomfortable, and then we move. And right now, the financial squeeze is on, the health squeeze is on, but what is it going to take to really push back? But I do look at what's going on with the data centers, whatever they are, even if it's a cover for something else. People are finally pushing back. So I guess this is what it takes. It's started, and I'm sure a lot of people out there didn't know how to provide or create a protest, but they have learned. I think we're all kind of on a learning curve here to stick up for ourselves. We just have to keep going and support those who are doing work to help each other somehow, some way. There's no clear route forward. I don't see a clear route forward. We just sort of have to forge ahead, whatever that looks like. And sometimes you just don't know the next step, but you just take it anyway.
KK says, "Are we from the Gigi?" Well, if you look, there's more than one Sumerian tablet that covers this story. But basically, they say that they created humans from the blood of a slain god. But it was said in some of those stories that particular god is Ijiji. It wasn't an Anunnaki, but an Ijiji. Again, why are they called a god? Just simply because these are the ones that came here from somewhere else, and they had the technology, and that's really it. They're the ones that can fly. They're the ones that can do amazing things because they're gifted with the technology. Professor Fukushima, Japan's most senior oncologist, says that cures that we're talking about are basically the equivalent of a firing squad. These are top level professionals saying this in public, and of course, if you tried to talk about this, then like us speaking up about this cost us everything. I mean, we had to start from scratch. We our financial situation was turned completely upside down for talking about things that were looking suspicious 6 months before it happened. Talking about suspicious things, CDC reports a surge in ER emergency room visits linked to these nasty things, which have been released in droves by, we suspect, a lot of the same people yet again. CNN has run 3 separate segments in the past week on tick-borne red meat allergies spreading like wildfire and calls to ease public fear. That's not news, it's advertising. Alpha-gal is the thing. People aren't even really talking about Lyme now. It's all alpha-gal. And it came out of the blue. And here we have politician Tim Burkett claiming that it's that Gill guy. He's the one connected to these, engineered ticks. And You even have people in the WEF saying that they could literally do what is happening, quite literally. So trying to turn a lot of people vegetarian, making it so they don't have a choice in the matter. It's not like a ethical concern. You're just not going to be able to put it down without getting sick. Yeah, how are they free? Mind-boggling.
It is. It's pretty mind-boggling, and you just kind of have to keep going back to the fact that, well, they're free because they're doing what some Anunnaki overlord wants them to do, and they're doing a very good job. But what's going to happen when things start to change and people really start to wake up? I think we're going through one wave of an awakening, and it's an important one with this alpha-gal thing spreading the way it is. And I believe we're going to go through another very powerful awakening after the Spielberg movie comes out, because what I'm picking up is there is a lot of subliminal messages in there through frequency, through scenes, and it's going to trigger people. It's definitely going to trigger people, but most of all, there's going to be awakening frequencies going through to those who are not awake at all right now, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So it's like we kind of just sort of have to prepare ourselves, because neighbors, friends, family members that were not awake before, they're gonna come, and they're gonna ask, and they're gonna be curious, and they're gonna be searching for truth. And you might be one of the ones who have a little piece of something that they need to hear. Bring them information that might help get them grounded, because when people become ungrounded, they get dangerous.
Yeah, number one grand archist was saying that all novel, where was that quote? All novel viruses are bioengineered. Got that from my mom. She was a top hematologist in Canada. Yeah, and there's patents for all this stuff, like usually 20, 30, 40 years ahead. 20, 30, 40 years ahead. Again, it's a test. It really is a test. And here you have Senator Ron Johnson obtained over 8 million pages of documentation from RFK Jr.'s HHS exposing corruption within the CDC. They hid things. How do they even exist? Every single one of them should be, everyone that's tied to it, they should be on trial,
Well, go back to that for a second, because that's okay. Well, here's what frustrates me. This guy is sitting on his throne and he's pointing out some information, but really what is going to be?
He has done a good job. He's been one of the whistleblowers.
He's done a great job, but I'm frustrated because what comes of it? I don't see anything come of it.
Well, what comes of it is exactly what we see with Thomas Massey. You don't get reelected. That's what comes of it. Or, maybe also things like what happened to Thomas Massey's wife. Yeah. She died of the big C. It's been what happened to David Wilcock. We could go on down the line, with all these. What happened to that Cassius? She was an administrative assistant, but they always list her as one of the scientists that was missing. But here you go. They looked at where her body was. It wasn't there. And then now, all of a sudden shows up almost a year later in the spot they had already searched.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, this is part of the big revelation. The question is, what is humanity as a collective going to do about it? House votes to rebuke Trump over war with Iran. The House passed a largely symbolic War Powers Resolution Act over Republican leaders' objections that it would weaken the president's hand. So in other words, the House did not give an okay to keep going on with the war. This was 215 to 208. 4 Republicans joined all the Democrats in voting. So the resolution, it directs Trump to remove U.S. armed forces from hostilities with Iran unless Congress votes to declare war or authorizes using military force against it. it doesn't really legally force them to end the conflict. So more than likely, nothing's going to happen because, again, most politicians don't really follow any sort of rules when you kind of get down to it.
No, none, zero.
The Iran war live updates, they attacked several Gulf nations. And so, there's been some things ongoing, a little bit of a flaring up. This is exactly what Krzysztof Tchaikovsky, the Polish psychic, had foreseen. He saw that this was going to flare up. He sees this war going on until somewhere in the summer of 2028. So we have about 2 more years or so of this war if he's looking at the right timeline. He could be looking at the right timeline now, but it could change if humanity forces that change. I guess that's really what I'm kind of getting to. It's like we need to do more. We need to demand more. We have reached out and we have contacted our own legislature in the state that we're in about certain bills and certain things that we didn't like and don't want to see passed, and we got on some lists. So I'm sure we're on some of the blacklists too, or that social credit score list.
Well, you can't win them all.
No, but we got to start trying. That's the thing. We've just been letting others steer the boat in any direction. And so, this is still ongoing, this situation. It doesn't feel like it's even close to really stopping. I think it's going to be, well, look at Ukraine. It's been going on for 4 years and 4 years and 4 months. So, it just keeps going on because, like in Ukraine, we recognize it's a very, very profitable business, the act of war. And some people are getting extremely rich, namely all the politicians in charge over there.
Yeah, we'll have to see what comes of this. Eventually something will happen. And oil has been used a lot to really scare people into doing a lot of things. But right now it seems like it's going back and forth because there's some people making a lot of money with this kind of up and down fear stuff going on.
And Jen was saying to Ray, I always wonder, how in the world did we get to this money thing, our system? What's his name? He's South African. He's on the fifth kind. Paul, I forget his last name, but he's interviewed Mauro Boligno, the Vatican translator, many times. Paul Wallace. He's written 5 or 6 books. And in, I think it was his second book, which these books are so easy to read. They're good reads. You could kill them in one night. They're very well written. But he talks about how the Hawaiian people talk literally that where did our money system come from? It came from the sky. It literally was one day these ships showed up. They took over. They gave us a money system. They gave us new religions, and they gave us our political system. They just came down from the sky, landed, and forced this change upon the planet.
And some came from the water.
Yeah, and some came up from the water, and some might have came from inside the earth. Meanwhile, America is draining its own oil cushion to keep the world supplied, and the tank is getting really low. Per the FT, total U.S. stocks of crude and refined products fell 10.6 million barrels last week to 1.57 billion, lowest level since 2004. So they're pulling from the stockpiles to try to keep the price from going too far up. I don't know where it is where you guys are. I saw the best price I saw was $3.56. $3.56 for the cheaper gas. But, this is the thing. This is also why things are taking a time, because they're basically running down our weapons. They're running down certain inventory of again, energy and food stocks. They're creating the perfect storm. That's really what's going on. They're creating a manufactured perfect storm scenario that literally the Polish psychic, and again, he's found so many missing people and solved many cold cases. He's very gifted. He sees that there's literally going to be some famine developing this year towards winter in certain areas. So that's kind of hard to grasp. I mean, right now things are going up a lot. I mean, I went to the store today, and it was like $225 for what would have cost maybe 10 years ago. I don't know, under 100.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember my sister, she had this little car. It was called a Daihatsu, and it had a very, very small gas tank. But during that time, I could fill that gas tank for like $5 in that little Daihatsu. And gas was pretty cheap then, but that's the last time I remember thinking, wow, that was cheap. And then it was all over, but the sniveling, because then there came the times living in the desert where a tank of gas, to run into the store and get food, to fill up your truck, because you probably want a truck out on that desert highway. It would cost like $150 just to fill your tank to go get one round of groceries, which is no good. That was very, very difficult. Went through that for a lot of years. California was really tough. It just seems like, I remember when gas started to go up, boy, the first place I saw that was the highest was out in Carmel. The really high ritzy places were like $8 a gallon. But that didn't faze them. It didn't bother them. It just bothered the normal people who had to work for a living.
Yeah, so he has a YouTube, Paul Wallace. I think he's a great guy. And here he is with Morrow. Now, Morrow has problems talking, and I really do think it's because he's targeted. I really believe he's been targeted, and, he has one that's given us clarity. This is a Vatican translator. And, he's saying, it's not the creator of the universe. We're talking about, ultra-terrestrials. Ultra-terrestrials. These are just beings with more technology than we have, more understanding. So a great dynamic duel. I think that his writing style is really very, very good. It's just very engaging. It's just a good guy. Really, he's another one that I do appreciate. So if you don't know, on the 14th, there's going to be a big UFC event literally on the front lawn of the White House, as Dana, the head of the UFC, is good friends with 47. And here they've constructed this, they're calling it the claw. The claw. It is basically all about lighting up this octagon that's going to be there. Only with, maybe, I don't know how many, 20-something thousand intimate friends there to witness these fights. I think there's about 7 fights. But he's talking about leaving it up like the Eiffel Tower, because he went back and said, they constructed the Eiffel Tower for a World's Fair, and then they left it up. Oh my gosh, that is a can of worms right there. Don't forget that Trump himself, about a year and a half ago, was saying we're going to have a World's Fair. But do you know what that means? I mean, when I hear we're going to have a World's Fair, that's just like Klaus saying, there's going to be a great reset.
Yeah, it's coming, you guys. Big change is coming. It's like, what is it going to look like? And really, I keep seeing the frog in boiling water. It's just, they turn it up a little more each day. But with every sun sneeze, we continue to get more and more sensitive, and we're figuring things out on our own. And I think coming together like this in the chats that we do is really important. It's really important for morale and just getting through day to day. And I saw you guys, groceries are so expensive right now. Us too. I think we got 3 or 4 bags from each store, and it hurt. It hurts. And we do have a lot of stuff growing out there, and we're thank goodness, Karmadoc, we have some chickens to give us some eggs, so we're figuring that out. And hopefully maybe we'll make more friends with farmers that are local in the area to help, kind of release a little bit of that squeeze on the food. I would recommend even asking a farmer if you can help on the farm. I would, if I find a place, if they'll let me help, I'll go help and trade for milk or whatever. I would happily go and help. I just love all the animals, and I just don't really have the appropriate land for a farm myself. Our land is a little bit wonky with like these patches of water, which make it very difficult if you want animals. You need dry land, and just too often our land is a little bit too wet. But yeah, maybe go look for local farms and see if you can volunteer.
Susan said that the claw reminds her of the X marks the spot 2 eclipses. I agree, absolutely. I do feel too that July and August are especially I don't want to say dangerous, but it does feel like those are the more dangerous months. I don't have another word. Especially also when it comes to, I feel for Trump, that July, especially maybe August, is going to be a real challenging month for Trump. Just a strong gut feeling there. But yeah, I agree, Susan. It does remind me, even the coloring and stuff, everything kind of reminds me of that because, again, the Pluto return of the U.S., which coincided with the Ukrainian war starting, that's all about remaking the U.S. And I know, obviously, there are some forces that would like to see the U.S. totally not exist anymore. And then there's others that want to see it as, just an out-and-out open empire. And some are using the U.S. to get their way in the world. Over 100,000 Albanians shut down the capital in furious protests. 47 and, JK are selling off the Albanian coastline to certain billionaires and certain military projects. The south of the country is being handed over to foreign control, and they are not happy. Oh my. If you see it, there's no hiding it now. There's no hiding it now. It's just so right out there in the open. These are they're crime organizations. You have one crime organization in the White House, that leaves, and then another crime organization comes in. They're mafias. They're cartels. Because they're just basically taking care of themselves, their business partners, their their families. And this is the former Congresswoman, MTG. The U.S. is a sovereign nation. Section 224 of 2027 National Defense Authorization Act must be removed. Our military should not be integrated into any capacity with any other foreign country's military. Well, if you look at this, you get the picture, right? Yeah, it's the U.S. of A is gone. It's the U.S. of I. And that really is the reality at this point.
Yeah, it makes it even more disturbing. And I see a lot of you guys in there talking about local farms in your area and them actually letting you volunteer and trade for food. I think that's a brilliant idea, and you might want to get your claws in early with that right now because, the masses are unaware, but if you are friends with a farmer, it's going to make your life a lot easier going through what we're about to go through. And it's also going to enable you to support others who don't want to give their money to the bigger corporations. It's like we have to take things back, even if it's one person at a time, $1 at a time, whatever. If you don't have to buy a bag of apples because you were able to go, pick your own, well, that's that much less money that Gil Bates is going to get, with his synthetic poisonous coating for other supposed organic apples. Then you get to keep those dollars in your pocket between you and someone else, and that's great that you guys know that you have that option available. I love it.
Sin Havoc says Monroe Doctrine in plain sight, and yeah, there's no such thing as countries. No, they just serve as excuses to depopulate through war. That's really what's going on, and also to feed the military-industrial complex and all the other businesses that tie into war. Susan, from the X eclipse, April 8th, 2024, to Trump's birthday, June 14th, 2026, 26 months and 6 days. 666, yeah. Yeah, exactly, it is. I think I feel pretty strong that I don't. I just think that his time is very short now. No matter what, you don't really want to ever see anybody taken out through any sort of violent act. But yes, you definitely want to see people that are bringing destruction, death, all sorts of untold misery removed from power. But there won't be anybody in power. But that would be a good thing. Again, when you look at government, that literally it comes down to govern and meant, and it literally translates to mind control. And that's what we have. Because while all these things are going on, you can see here again, they have plans to take this land and make tons of money with it. And then how about over in, there you go, Argentina, without a doubt, it's not a coincidence that Benjamin Netanyahu's surname, if you go back, was changed. It was Milikowski. Well, Javier Milei, his name wasn't always Milei. It was Milikowski. Look at their body size and shape, feel their energy. They're related. And, here you go. A big gift of, 100,000 hectares of pristine forest land in Argentina, gifted to that little land in the Middle East. Again, who brought that into existence? It was the Red Shields, and it was the UN. So, yeah, again, if it gets too tough over there, they're looking for other places to reset as a new base. Maybe it'll be Albania, maybe it'll be Argentina, maybe both. Again, I don't think it has anything to do with any sort of religion, because I honestly don't think they really have any religion. They just use it as a shield to cover other things.
Oh, they do, and they're good at it too. They're very, very good at it. And I do see we do have a Rosemary sighting. It is always wonderful to see Miss Rosemary in the house. Awesome sauce, and she has some really good, I believe, a YouTube channel and a Facebook about Australia and the outback. So I don't know if you have those handy, Rosemary, but you can throw those links if people want to join you, because these are things that we have in common. And these are things that, if somebody can connect with you somehow and you can give advice or guidance or anything, that is just wonderful.
Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen admits on the record that the U.S. government has been keeping a database of every single one of us. They can see everything about your health, your finances, your movements. They know about your bowel movements.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's already in place. And the reality is, most of us are not a threat at all. The threats in power. These are the threats. The billionaires, the corporations, the politicians. I think we could run the world a lot better. I'm just saying. Anger in the UK, Henry Nowak's murder, and the protests that followed. This was an 18-year-old student. A stabbing sparked outrage over everything going on. This is hiding behind the RACE card. But the reality is, why do we have these huge migrations of people? It serves a purpose, multiple purposes. It keeps people from rooting. It keeps people tense, and it just is constantly causing these irritations that they can then take advantage of.
It's a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very sad, very, very sad what we're witnessing. Because a lot of the migrants, they've had war happen on their own soil. And so where they were living, their home becomes very dangerous. Of course, you want to have a better life for your family. That's just understandable. And if there is ongoing war and bombings and stuff, who could blame you for wanting to go somewhere else? And then when you happen to end up in some of the countries that literally are doing the bombing, how could you expect them to be, to not have feelings about the whole situation? I mean, it's just obvious.
I agree.
Germany fails to win UN Security Council seat for the first time ever. Berlin's defeat comes as calls grow to reform the world body in favor of the global South. The global South, that's another term they use when they talk about the BRICS nations. Christoph, the Polish psychic, he was asked, I think on his last live, somebody had him look 70 years, about 50 years in the future. It was like he was looking at about 2070 to 2080. What did he see? On the timeline that we are on right now, he saw that it looked like the northern hemisphere had gone through a huge war because it was relatively a mess. What did he see in the global South? He saw technology and everything hustling and bustling and kind of booming. But things were really different because you had people married to robots, I kid you not, and things that would, I guess you would have to say they're cyborgs. He said there would be another whole type of human living here at that point in time, intermingled, intermarried with flesh and blood humans that would be beings that are integrated with AI. So that's what he is seeing. But he is seeing that the southern hemisphere fares much better and kind of leads the world in like 50 years because of what very well may be the war that's underway right now in Iran if it gets bigger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, again, something to see. So when I saw this, and they're talking about the global South, and then watching Christoph's last show, I think it was 2 nights ago. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like perfectly in line with what he's seeing. Wealthy Russians see empire crumble as Putin is seizing assets. So the government seizes, in Russia in 2025, they seized 1.1 trillion rubles. It's about $19 billion worth of assets in anti-corruption cases. But then again, who gets that money? Well, the government does. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's the oligarchs. It's again, the politicians, the corporations. Russia is, Putin, it's just another branch of a cartel. Everywhere we look, none of these governments are any good. But, there certainly are some that are worse than others. The thing is, they all need to be removed from power, and it will happen. Christoph did also see, I think it was 2027, Putin won't be there. And, he had seen that he would be replaced by somebody from the military. So it might even be out of the frying pan into a fire, so to speak, if it turns into more of a military dictatorship. But let's hope if it does go that way, it doesn't last long. I think ultimately, average people are going to end up just having enough, and that will be it for the system. But I think there will be places that are freer than other places. Other places that might be a little bit less corrupt. Again, it's a thing where I think you have to listen to the higher self and let the higher self guide you. And so that means have a good, regular, steady, daily spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm. That's so important these days.
It is. And, this is really curious. I touched on this before. Japan's bear crisis deepens with 4 more attacks. Elderly woman severely injured, animal charges through factories and residential area in Fukushima. There's been bear attacks like crazy, not just bears. There's been a lot of wild animal attacks. And I gotta wonder, does it have anything to do with a change in people? Or maybe certain people not being quite all human, or maybe certain people being under some sort of dark demonic influence and nature is getting to the point where it's had enough of that? Or I don't know what's going on, but something feels really weird here.
Well, yeah, we're looking at Fukushima, we're looking at, high toxins. And whenever you're full of toxins, that can definitely affect things. Very, very important organs in your body, your thyroid, your brain, your things that can, have something to do with your ability to just control your emotions, your anger and animals are no different. They're no different. Maybe they're freaking out because their brains are getting eaten away by all the toxins, and humans too. I mean, humans can really, when they are toxic, it really affects their temper. When your hormones are unable to do their job, it affects the temper. So to me, yeah, in many ways, it is nature pushing back, because you can only fill it up with so many toxins, and things just stop working. They just stop working.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey says high levels of heavy metals cause aggression. Well, that could be it too. They're stressed. It's Mother Earth is going to do her thing, and she will ultimately remove the system. I think the system knows this. Yeah, it could be frequency warfare too. This is, it's just real common. It's happening. They had 13 people killed in 1 year, 230 bear attacks. That sounds crazy. Yeah, Japan is, again, roughly about, if I remember right, it's pretty similar to California in size. And, their population is declining rapidly. They are declining, I think, the most of any other nation. A lot of people there, again, literally married to the corporations. They're not married to each other anymore, unfortunately. This is really a sign of the times to me. It strikes me as very ominous. Did you know that Pfizer produces 90% of the cheese in the U.S.? I know we've touched on this before. You start cheese with rennet, milk, salt cultures, right? Who makes the rennet for 90% of the cheese in the U.S.? Pfizer. Genetically modified version of rennet. Cow genes inserted into GM mushrooms. The traditional rennet comes from the stomach of calves. Interesting. Half of Americans no longer can tolerate dairy products. Yeah, well, again, when you looked at the big GMO products like soybeans and corn, they cause so much inflammation, in my opinion, and many other allergists that I've followed. Why would you do it? Well, again, they'll say it's so you could have better crop yields, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is it's sabotaging our health. Your health starts in the gut.
Oh my gosh, the gut, the brain and gut connection. Had I known that, I would have done things so differently. Again, it just goes back to education. Teach your children, teach your grandchildren how important the, brain gut axis can make or break your entire life. That brain gut axis is so important. Make sure that's really healthy. Heal the gut, marshmallow root, slippery elm bark. These things help heal the gut. Very, very important. If you have leaky gut, look at everything that you're eating. And if you're eating inorganic, try to eat organic as much as possible, because inorganic can really create more of a leaky gut problem if you're already dealing with it.
Absolutely. And then this is, again, Tim Burkett.
I want to ask you about one more topic. The Pentagon last week releasing its second large batch of UFO and UAP related files. We saw videos, we have pictures, we have some documents. People are calling for not just the grainy, redacted video. They want the high quality video, they want the usable data. Are we really seeing everything that we need to?
No, ma'am, we're not. And the problem you have, and I have this straight from the White House, is that the people in these alphabet agencies are blocking the president of the United States. I've said this many times.
But why are they doing that?
It's power, it's control. I think there could be some economic incentives to it. They're going to take this high road and say it's going to disrupt religion and all this other stuff. I just don't buy that as a Christian. That doesn't affect me one bit. I just think they need to disclose everything and quit telling us they don't exist when they're spending tens of millions of dollars on programs that obviously studying them. We have some of the best pilots in the world and claim they do exist in sworn testimony, and they seem to just kind of brush that aside. So, yeah, there's a lot of arrogance in government, and there's a lot of, the Bible says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And I think that's what you're seeing, some really foolish behavior by some very arrogant people. And, of course, you got the war pimps, too. Imagine if you had an energy source that was that we could heat our homes in the winter and cool them in the summer. We would not be in all these wars for oil. We wouldn't be overseas. We could mind our own dadgum business. And there's a lot of things behind it, I think, if you dig down deep enough. But ultimately, this President Trump, has kept his word. He said he was going to do it. I talked to him on the phone, and he said, "Yeah, dadgummit, we're going to get him out. I don't have any problem with that."
I mean, a lot of people aren't satisfied with what we're seeing just yet. I know you've been in so many rooms, you've been in so many classified briefings. You've said that you have seen UFO videos that defy any reason. Is what you've seen, clearly, does it clearly exceed American, Russian, or Chinese technology?
100%, ma'am. If it was the Russians, Putin's an egomaniac. He wouldn't be locked down in Ukraine. He would fly one to Pennsylvania Avenue and get out and wrestle the president, probably in another MMA fight or something. China had it. They would control the world even more so than they do now, with the greedy politicians and lobbyists. And if we had it, we would not be putting our men in harm's way, men and women who fly in harm's way, that come so close to these aircraft, that see them out there. They have the capabilities of hovering over the ocean for hours at a time, and then can just shoot straight up at incredible rates of speed, things that we couldn't comprehend or be able to handle as human beings. So, yeah, there's something else that's going on, and they need to just let us decide if we can handle it or not, ma'am.
All right, Congressman Tim Burchett, always appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, and we're still waiting. This one, I don't know. This one feels like a little bit of acting, but he's showing some lights off in the distance, and it's a little bit blurry and everything. There's so many out there, and, he's selling that he's scared. We've all had, at some point in time, I think almost all of us must have had an encounter. Right? I mean, I'm sure like everybody out there has had an encounter. I'm going to show you some video in the next couple of days that we took a couple of nights ago. It was really wild, guys. I mean, wild. There was this, I guess I would call it heat lightning. There was no thunder and there was no storm. I checked the weather. Nothing's cooking. But there was like a light show with flashing lights in the backyard and out over the lake, and we're watching it. And then maybe like 15 minutes later, there's like orbs everywhere, and they're shooting around like crazy. And these were, bright white orbs, and some of them felt like they were trailing energy behind them. It was really cool. It's kind of like, it felt like whatever was going on. Now, Cindy was sensing that there was a ship that was charging or pulling literally energy out of the ether. It was, recharging itself, some sort of big mothership. But these orbs, these consciousnesses, because they do feel like consciousness, maybe elemental beings, they were frolicking and playing is what it felt like.
They were, and I think the plasma is used for many different things for Earth, and I think it's used for certain ships as well. And I think they definitely pull that plasma from these silent lightning storms, and I have seen them in the desert too. There's a particular mountain in this little town that I'm from, and it's a very ominous mountain. But, behind that mountain, you would have like these lightning storms, and just you'd see this one huge singular cloud over the mountain. No other clouds anywhere, but you would see this lightning storm, and where there should be plenty of thunder, where's the thunder? Just all of this lightning. And then you take pictures and you take long enough video, and you can catch ships in the flash. You can catch ships in the flash. And this happened quite a lot in that desert, not too far from Area 51, and a lot of really strange things happen out in that desert. For as desolate as it looks, there's a lot of life out there in different ways. But I really believe that these what Mike calls heat lightning, I've never heard that before, but okay. What Mike calls heat lightning, I think they charge ships, and I think they also charge the elementals, because it really looked like it was the elementals kind of running in and out of the trees and just basically chasing. They were like chasing. Joyous. Yeah. It really felt joyous. Yeah, like, they just got a big burst of energy. It was really cool, and we got it all on our camera. So now lately at night, since we had that ship drop down out of the sky, we kind of lay there right around 9:30 our time. We just sort of watch it and see what comes out. It's fun.
We just, we spend like a half hour just talking to each other there, watching and seeing what's going to show up tonight, because things seem to follow Cindy and myself, and then we landed right in a mound area. So we literally have mounds down the street from us. I think there was a mound on our property. The neighbor came over and told me that they were discovering all sorts of stuff in your yard when they were putting the foundation in, getting ready for this house to come in, arrowheads and all sorts of things. But we are definitely in a portal area. Oh, interesting times. Running the gauntlet, I just wanted to touch on what you had said, because it was very touching. I know so many people that were injured after the you-know-what, plus had 3 family members in the last few months pass away from turbo cancer. Just crazy. So happy I listened to my guides and didn't do you-know-what. I think there's a lot of people that have overcome, but then we also understand that not every owie was the same. Some were much worse than others, according to batch numbers, things like that. But we're really sorry for your losses. Again, this is a very wonderful family member, and we've lost so many. It just really, it sometimes it really gets to you when you think about all the people that we've lost, and we know why we lost them, and yet there's been no justice at all. Not that you could ever bring them back by putting others locked away somewhere. At the same time, it's just ridiculous that not a single thing has really truly substantially been done.
No, there hasn't. And I just want to send my condolences to everyone who's lost a family member, or a family member who's sick that did the thing, because those folks wanted to do something good. They thought they were doing the right thing. Their heart was in the right spot, and it's just so wrong. John Hernandez had a visitation when he was 6 years old, sleeping beside his stepmother. Experienced a blue light, so decided to get up when I was visited by an Arcturian woman. That's amazing, because 6 years old, you're really in touch with that world. And when I was a very small child, I had a play friend who looked no different to me than Mike does, sitting right next to me. And later on, when I asked my dad in my 20s where my friends went, my father looked at me and he says, "Sweetheart, you had no friends up there. You were completely alone." And I had a lot of friends, and especially my best friend Jerry at the time. His name was Jerry. I was slightly annoyed because Jerry's mom and dad would come, and I was kind of tasked with keeping an eye on him because he was a little bit younger than me. So I remember specifically feeling slightly annoyed. So when we are small, we're very in touch with that world, and it's very, very real. And now we have a lot of parents who have very gifted children. And a lot of parents are now supportive of their gifted children who can see in different ways. So, yeah, that's amazing. That's quite a story. And at 6 years old, for you to remember it, because what I've learned working with moms and dads with children who are gifted, and my own experience is usually when children go through puberty, they just completely forget. They completely forget. I did not forget, but I've seen a lot where children, life happens and then they just forget. But that's a very precious story there that you have, and maybe something to write down and just, never forget that story, and maybe even go back and revisit it and write it out more to see if there's more meaning there.
Yeah, and Jen said that would be so cool if you could have a live view camera and have people pay to watch. I know Dark Waters used to do that. Maybe we could do that. I mean, we could look into how much it would cost to get a camera, a decent quality one, and then set it up and watch outside, because these are good for security, but they're grainy. So, I mean, they don't get the detail. I was just saying to Cindy, how much does an infrared cost? I mean, there's so much going on this property. I think we've been guided here partially for that reason. I would love to look into it and see if we could get some better video. That would be a lot of fun to share that with you guys. Man, especially if it was a time where we could go live and share it. That would be really cool.
Yeah, right now basically the camera is kind of watching the chicken coop, so we just lay there in bed because that was where the thing dropped down. And and we've had a lot of videos with these collectives or orbs coming through the front, and you can see it. Yeah, the video is grainy, but you can see that obviously there's something different there.
So with that, we'll see if we get Cindy to give us some dings, and I will say Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. May my own thoughts, words, acts, and deeds in some way contribute to the happiness and freedom for all beings. And, again, I put out there that those that are intentionally causing harm to humanity and the planet, may they be removed from power and swiftly and efficiently.
Okay. Want to send some prayers. We are going to do a prayer board, and I'll probably set that up this week. And it's just going to be a post on YT for people. So if you need prayers, shoot us an email and we'll build that prayer board. But right now, I just want to revisit Corey. Still, he's struggling, and also Steve and Lori. This is very important because Lori doesn't really have anyone in her corner. All she has is family members that can go and see her, but when the family members go and see her, they're always having to do things that the other people that are being paid to do, they're not doing it. So she's laying there and she's helpless to take care of herself. It's a very bad situation. It is super, super sad. So any prayers and love that we can send toward Lori and Steve to, help her get just a little bit better. So maybe she could go home. And also Carrie, he's in a fight of his life, and he's very special to us. And he's been with us for a very long time, many, many, many years. So he's been with the EEARTS family and anyone else who needs these prayers. So otherwise, please find a happy energetic signature in your field. And I'm going to do some dings, and we're going to send that energy out. We are going to enhance that energy in your field. Here we go. You guys are so wonderful for joining us. Thank you so much. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.